Hi crafty friends, it's Diane the Creative Inkster, and today is a Wednesday, April 19th. We're going to make a pop-up diorama card. So this is my original one that I'm working from that I made about a year ago, and it is a little bit smaller than a standard card. It's 3.5 by 5.5, but don't let it fool you. It is definitely a card with a wow, because when you open it up, you've got this action going on here. So you can put whatever you like on the inside. It stands up nicely on a table, just like that. But it has this really cool feature on the inside. So I wanted to kind of share with you how to make this one. Here's one I made on the weekend, and instead of a layer that is stamped and a focal point here, I've gone ahead and used pattern paper for this. So we're going to make this one with probably a little bit different paper, but you get the idea. So the pop-up diorama card. If you're here watching, please leave me a message. Let me know. We can chit-chat and say hi during the live, or if you're watching the replay, just pop a note in there and I'll know that you've been hanging around watching. All right, so we need some different supplies for this. Okay. First off, we need a piece of cardstock. So I wanted to cut the cardstock and score it along with you. So I'm taking out my paper trimmer, and I need a piece that's 10 3/4 by 5.5. So a standard piece of cardstock is 8.5 by 11. So for 10 3/4, we just need to cut off 1/4 of an inch. So we'll do that. Oh, almost cut off the wrong end. Okay, long end across the top horizontal in your trimmer, and you're going to cut off 1/4 of an inch. So that really basically makes it 10 3/4. So we've got that little bit of scrap. And then typically cutting along the 4.5 inch side, we'd cut it 4 1/4, but I want the card to be this tall, 5.5. So I'm going to cut it at 5.5. So the bits I've got left over I can use on something else. I don't usually like to have that mess or leftover scrap that doesn't get used, but I'm sure it'll go in the scrap bin and it will get used. Righty-o. So we have our card, which is this height. Perfect. Now all we need to do is our scoring across here. So we are going to score at 3 5/8. So there's 3.5, and 2 little tick marks over is 5/8. So 3 5/8. 6 7/8. If you miss these measurements, don't worry. You can back up the video, or I'll put my blog post with the measurements there for you to write down. 7 1/4 and 10 1/2. So we're creating these little segments for the panel to make it 3D like this. So we're creating these pieces. So if you can imagine that this is the open piece, this is starting from the left. We scored at 3 5/8, and then, no, I'm sorry, it goes from this end. 3 5/8. That doesn't make sense. Oh no, wait a minute. Sorry, right, back again. 3 5/8, 6 7/8, 7 1/4, and 10 1/2. So we've got all our measurements there, and we've got our score lines. We're going to fold on those score lines. And then we're going to do a little bit of cutting too, though. We want to cut the circle out, but I just want to get the frame of it so you can see. So this piece is the front. This is your back. Then you've got a short score line here and another short segment here. That makes it fold around like that. And then this small 1/4 inch here, which is just got to get your fingers around it, is going to wrap around and tuck in there so that when the card can close and pop up, it's going to be in the corner. So that's what we're going for here, the ultimate. All right, so I'm going to get my bone folder out. We've got to do some cutting though, because we've got to get this hole in this segment here. And this segment is this one here. So starting from the left where your first score line was, this segment here is the piece that wraps around the front. That's where we're going to put the hole. And we're also going to need some other pieces here. So I got a piece of scrap white. I have a piece of, where's my measurement? 3 5/8 by 5 1/4. I'm sorry, 3 3/8 by 5 1/4. This is going to go on the front panel. So we're not doing any die cutting in that. That's going on the front panel. Then the piece that flips around, we have a piece that's got to go on the inside. That's this white piece, which measures 3 by 5 1/4. So that's going to go on the inside between the score lines. And then the piece that's going on the front that's pattern paper is also 3 by 5 1/4. And we are going to glue it down, but not through the middle. And then we're going to cut a hole out. So we're going to do that all at the same time. All right, so we're going to open this wide up. Just have to figure out which is the piece that goes on the wraparound piece on the center. All right, so let's grab our glue, and I'm only going to put adhesive on the outside edges. I'm not going to, oh, I haven't used this in 2 days. Who hasn't stamped in 2 days? What the heck? This is going to go on the outside edges. It'll still stick down and be perfect. It's going to slide in here. If you've got directional paper, keep that in mind, so that it goes down the right way. Best thing to use is non-directional paper, and it'll all be fine. Hey, you're here! Thanks for stopping in. So again, just checking how we're doing this. This is going to fold around, and that's the piece that wraps around. We're going to glue this together like this. And one thing to note, because you may think, oh, you didn't cut that right. That little 1/4" tab is not going to go flush with that score line along here. We're going to fold it so that it's just a bit above, just so you don't think I've lost my mind with the measurements. All right, so we figured out the flap that's going to come around the front. Now we're ready to cut in here. And so it's a good idea to get that cutting done ahead of time. Right, grab this here. And because you put them two together, you don't have to marry them up and make sure that they land the right way. So once again, keeping track of where the top is. This is the top of my card, because this folds around, so that's the top. That's where the circle's going. I've lost you already. I hope not. All right, so I'm using a stitched circle from, let's get the right stitched circle, Stylish Shapes. And there are 2 sizes I'm working with here. I'm going to use the smaller one, and it roughly is 2 1/4 inches. And that's the one that's going to go here. Doesn't really matter where you put it. That's up to you. I'm trying to center the edges of the circle with evenly to the right and left of the pattern paper. You know what? I'm not overthinking it too. It's like whoever gets it's just going to be wowed out by the actual card. Alrighty, let's run this through. Whoop. Sorry, it's going to get a little wiggly. Okay, and now we have this piece. I think we can move this out of the way so that we have a little more space out here. All right, we still have our little flap there. We're still on par. We've got the center piece. Now we need to stick a white piece inside that we're going to do our stamping on. Now, there's a couple things you can do. You can take your piece of white, which measures 3 by 5 1/4, and you can stick it in here between the 2 score lines so you know it's even, and you can stamp through. That may or may not work for you. Or when you glue it down, which actually I could just glue it down, then we can sort of mark it with a pencil. And I think the marking with a pencil might be the better way to go. It's time to get some more glue, isn't it? There we go. I love liquid glue. It's so easy. So easy to reposition when I don't get it where I want it to be. It's perfect. Okie dokie. There we go. So our options are to stamp on the inside, but here's what's going to be the difficult part of that. If you were to fold this on the score line to the right and do your stamping flat through that circle, it's not going to be centered. You need to be stamping it with this piece open. So it's going to be off by like just a smidge. That's too much stress for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the circle back through. Okay. So I know where the circle came out of. I'm going to move this over. Okay, so that wasn't even. But it is even. What the hey? Oh yeah, I just didn't push it over far enough. Okay, I'm going to take my pencil, trusty pencil, and I'm going to put a little line at the top and a little line at the bottom, which I can erase. So now I know my greeting is going to fit in the middle of that. So let's see. What should we go with? Thank you. I always need thank you cards. Hooray, it's your day. I think that's what I was thinking I would go with. So let's see if that fits in here. Oh, I think it does. Hooray, it's your day for a birthday. And that's going to fit in the center between my two pencil marks. And then if I line this up as if the card is together, I can see that it lands there. And I can put some rhinestones or something else there if I want. In fact, let's just stamp a flower or a leaf. What paper am I going with? Oh, that's true. I could use one of these, couldn't I? Yeah, I grabbed this stamp set, Petal Park, because I was thinking I would add, that's right, that's what I'll do. I have this leftover. So when you're making, when you're stamping stuff and you get one that you're like, oh, I'm not really going to use that because I made too many of them, put them in your stamp case, and then the next time you pull it out, you've got a couple of options. So I do have a couple of these leftovers from the last time. So we're going to stamp the greeting in, and then we're going to put the flowers around. Okay, we know what we're doing. Let's grab a block, and we're using Night of Navy ink. Let's remember to go ahead and erase those pencil lines too. All right, so let's grab some scratch paper, and we're just going to make sure that our ink pad is nicely inked up. So I find at this point in the year, sort of the end of the catalog, my ink pads start to get where they need re-inking. So I'm coming across that a lot and just figuring out where I'm going to, if I need to re-ink them. So I'm looking to position this between the two pencil marks. Best I can here. Straight if I can. Straight, yeah, it's good enough. Okay, so there's my greeting. Then I'm going to grab the eraser. I know one of my erasers is a little, like when you use it, it leaves a little mark behind, so I just wanted to grab the right one. I'm just going to erase those little pencil marks, which may not show anyway, but it would be good to kind of erase them. All right, we're just about ready to put the card together. So yeah, I know it looks like it's not centered, but when we get this on and this gets up in position, it's going to be centered nicely. Okay. So you've got your small tab here. You're going to fold, and you've got like a two score lines here. So you're going to fold the one furthest to the right just straight down. I know it looks like it's not in the center, and that's okay. But you're going to fold down at that 7 1/4 inch score line. You're going to fold that down. We're going to add a little bit of adhesive along this little tab here, and we're going to fold this over, and that's going to pick it up exactly where it needs to be picked up from. And I think I'm going to use, oh, I don't have it here. I thought I had my tear and tape handy. That's okay. I can use liquid glue for this too. You just want to be careful not to make it too gooey. So flat down on the 7 1/4 inch score line and fold the left side all the way over. Now it's going to need to dry, right? Because that is what will happen. It takes a little bit of time to dry. And then when you push it back up, you're getting that in the center. Check it out. It worked. I love it. All right, so for the front, we need to add our pattern paper. So it's probably a good idea, as this is still drying, to just kind of push it down. We're going to put this piece. Now this measures 3 3/8 by 5 1/4. Super pretty. This you can put glue wherever you want, if you like it really more than just on the edges. Okay, so we've got that there. And then I've got some leftover bits. So with the circle that was a little bit bigger, this is the one I cut the center out of. And I have that piece. Where's that piece? I'm going to do one of two things. So I used a little bit bigger circle. I can either put this like this, or I can use the same color facing out and then decorate with the little flowers that I have left over in the bin. Or I could do it this way. I don't really like that color. It's not a nice color for me. This is the new, I think this is the new Lemon Lolly, actually. I was playing around with that on the weekend. Okay, so let's take our circle that we cut out and the one that's a little bit bigger. They're both stitched, and we will put them together for some depth and texture. Someone's going to remind me to get out a new glue bottle of glue. Okay, and we're going to put this on here. I'm going to stick that on there, like that. And then I had some scrap out in case, you know, I needed it to do the flowers with, but like I said, I have some left over, so may as well use them up. Look at that, I have 4. Look at that. This is the Petal Park stamp. So I'm going to use the yellow ones on the outside. Okay, so we're going to pop this up on dimensionals. And that'll give it a little bit of life as well. And what was the embellishment I was going to go with? I thought I grabbed an embellishment. Grab one from the stash. So you can see that on this one, I used all pattern paper as well, but this one we did stamping. So we just did a stamp all the way around and then a die cut here. So whatever you have to play with, it all works. And then we'll put some dimensionals on the back of these flowers and purpose them out. Always good to have extras that you can use. And triples are nice. Like, I like things in uneven numbers. They work out nicely. There. And I can even put a little greeting in there. So, you know, go with what you've got. I have a little greeting one here. I've got hooray, it's your day there. But I could put something here too if I wanted to. But I realized I don't really have a stamp small enough for that. Let's use some iridescent, nope, not those ones. Let's use just our rhinestone basic jewels. These are like the go-to. They're cheap. You get a lot. You get like, what, 140 for $8.25? They're a good go-to. You can color them with your Stampin' Blends. Just be careful. They are a bit sharp on the edges, so I sometimes suggest grabbing a Sharpie pen and using that instead to do your coloring with. But I'm just going to use them as they are. Where are my scissors? There we go. Add some of these to the center of the flowers, and that's just going to add some beautiful pop-up. Now, who wouldn't love to get this card? Do you remember what I called it? Diorama, pop-up diorama card. And you can make it as tall as you like or wider if you like. You can take, I've seen where people have taken 2 pieces of cardstock so that it goes across and gets to be wider. Up to you. But you'll see that this is a 1/4 inch piece there. But if you actually had this tab piece go all the way to that edge, it would be really bulky and have some difficulty closing up. All right, and then we've got this guy that we're going to stick on here. And I'm not going to put dimensionals, but I am going to like glue the bottom of these, add some liquid glue to the bottom of a couple of them and have it stick below the circle. Okay. Now this stamp set, if you're wondering what it is called, the one for the greeting, Irresistible Blooms. It's a bundle that's in our online exclusives. The stamp set on its own is beautiful. And it's available while supplies last. We really don't know how long that'll be, but it's kind of fun to have some new things entering the line here and there. So I'll put a little jewel there, and then this is ready to close up. So that's my card for tonight. I hope you like this idea. It really is very simple once you get the measurements going. Let's move this stuff out of the way, and I'll show you all three once again. Thanks, Tam. So this is a stamped version. All the measurements will be on my blog post, which I'll put in with the link. And, well, actually, I'll put it with the Facebook post. And then this one's just a standard thank you. This is the paper that matches Irresistible Blooms. It's called Hello Irresistible. And the dies cut out the flowers and the leaves, which is kind of neat. And then the one we did tonight. Hooray, it's your day. I think it's perfect. And if you wanted someplace to write more, one thing you can do is take a piece of white and put it on the back, or maybe even on the inside here, so you can write your message. We never think about that when we're making the cards. We just think about all the excitement of making the cards. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you being here. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.